What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and this is rFactor 2 with the newly released DW12 Indycar from Indianapolis. We'll get to the oval in a bit. 2014 road course right now, but look at these physics. Just wrong. Just wrong entirely. Why did my car not randomly stall? I thought I was playing rFactor 2, you know, a serious sim for serious simulation people. Instead, I got Forza. I mean, what is up with that? Doesn't everybody know that the DW12 just randomly stalls on the grid for the sake of making things exciting? And, you know, the AI as well, totally not very good. Red and yellow, number 17 car started right in front of me and he actually got off the line. What's up with that? Anyways, all joking aside, Indycar is now available in rFactor 2 in all of its configurations. You got your Honda engine, your Chevrolet engine. Pick which one you would like. They sound a little bit different, they perform a little bit different, but well, if you've watched Indycar, you know that every single time it seems like they say, oh, this track is a Honda track, and they're really strong. Chevrolet ends up mopping the floor and vice versa. So, engine parity in Indycar is pretty good right now. Seems like I'm always late to that turn. You have all the configurations of the DW12 available. You have your road course street circuit version, which obviously driving right now. Short oval version, which has the road course wings, but is biased to turn left. And then the oval version, which is for places like Texas, for example. With the speedway wings, low drag, a lot of speed, not a lot of downforce. And then the Indianapolis package, which kind of ratchets things up to 10. Whoa! You gotta watch out for those wheel pods, man. Never did like those things. They just make more of a target. Just make the car bigger, which makes you more likely to hit it. So all the configurations are already available. We'll talk about the oval a little bit later on in this video where we'll be driving around on the oval. Because only an iRacer would take an oval configuration to a road course. Then again, it's also a bucket load of fun, so maybe that's something I should have tried. And as you can probably tell, there are several liveries available that resemble the real world. There are only 2 real liveries and real drivers currently. And those are Sebastian Bourdais in the 11, that'd be your Chevy-powered car, as well as Jack Hawksworth in the 98, which is your Honda-powered car. But as you can see, there is Mr. Albany driving an orange and blue car. I wonder who that's supposed to be. Certainly not Charlie Kimball. Certainly. Definitely not. But, of course, seeing how they don't have the license to the skins, they have to come up with fictional skins, though they do look somewhat like the real things, and the colors are certainly identifiable, but also fake names, such as the driver of the number 12 car is Max Thrust, which might just be the greatest name in the history of great names, even though the driver of that car in the real world has a great name for a race car driver. So that's, and Hunter Shark, that's another good one. Oh, and Oreo something? Oreo something? Can't remember the name, but yeah, some of them are just goofy, silly stuff, which, I don't know, it's good to see that in 2014. That's something that I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you were playing race sims for a long while ago, you'll remember the days where you always had those fictional names in the grid, and they were halfway funny, halfway serious. have a little fun with it. I am pretty dang sure, though, that within a month we will have every skin needed to complete the 2012, 2013, and 2014 IndyCar grid. Probably within a month. You know, I really do expect that to happen because the template is available, so anyone can paint their own cars if they'd like. You know, seeing how we do have everything else otherwise in terms of the car. Marco Andretti line. You know, somebody will create the skins, so there's no question about that. Now, track-wise, there are multiple layouts available. There's the 2014 road course that you see me driving here, the 2013 road course, which was used by MotoGP, if I'm not mistaken, and the 2007 layout, which was used by Formula One in their brief stint here in the U.S. at Indianapolis. So you have 3 different road courses. Personally, the 2014 is my favorite version. You know, it just has a better flow. It's a nicer drive, really, in my opinion. So basically, got everything covered on top of the oval, which again is pretty much expected, because the guy who releases Indianapolis without an oval is one weird individual. He'd just be strange. But as for how this car drives, it's actually surprisingly, I'm pretty sure, the easiest open wheel car in rFactor 2 right now. At least in my opinion. It is a very friendly car. You can really get aggressive with it, throw it around, and it will keep on going. I would honestly say that the Formula Renault that you saw me drive earlier on this week is a more difficult car to drive, which is kind of strange. You know, I'm not sure specifically if that's realistic, but you know, I've never driven the car, so it's just up to me to observe what I've seen. Having watched pretty much every race that this car's put on, and it's, you know, 2.5 years now. It does seem a little bit stable. It does seem like it's a little bit too quick, but that could again be down to the track. I'm not sure how ISI have simulated this track, because as many of you guys will know, that the 2014 circuit here at Indianapolis was laid down, paved rather late in the going, so it was pretty oily, which is not exactly good for speed. So for all I know, they simulated, you know, how it'd be after the race weekend, and things have kind of, you know, worn in just a little bit. So it's very grippy. There is also the red sidewall tires available. Those will be the softer alternate compounds. They do have more grip, but they also don't last as long. And in the real world, you're required to use a set of those in the race. Here in rFactor 2, it seems like that's not quite supported yet, because if I go into the pit options, I can't actually change tire compounds. I can only change tires, which is kind of unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure that's an engine issue right now at this point. I really do think this is a car that's going to be popular, because it is easy to drive, it is friendly, you know, it doesn't really have a tendency to bite you that hard, if you ask me. As well as the fact that it can race pretty much anywhere, as well as the fact because IndyCar is a spec series in terms of chassis, it just makes sense. You know, it's always really bothered me when people run like league mods of Formula 1. That's like, why is you know, a Marussia running the same times as a Mercedes. That's not right. You know, that guy should be at a significant disadvantage. If I wanted to play spec car stuff, I would play a series with spec cars, which is what we got here. And these cars are fun to drive. And you have 700, 750 horsepower, somewhere on in there. You have a lot of downforce. And you have a lot of braking power. You know, as well as the fact that maybe it's just because I'm a fan of the series and I know all the tracks that they go to and you know, everything like that, but it just seems more normal to stick a car like this at a circuit that's a little bit smaller. You know, for example, the Formula Masters, which kind of replicates a Formula 1 car here in rFactor 2. Like, I don't get a lot of enjoyment from that car, not because I don't enjoy it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that car in general just because of how fast it is, but there's so few circuits that actually support that car. Whereas here with this car, I feel like I could take this to a place like, you know, Simmons Plains, which is a, you know, really top-notch circuit that's, you know, community created. I can feel like, you know what, this car's a little bit too big for that circuit, but it's manageable. Because it just kind of sits right there at that perfect speed, as well as the fact that, you know, they do race street circuits. You know, they do race a lot of, you know, tight circuits, tight twisty stuff, so. I wonder who this driver could be. Red and white number 2, and his last name is Toyopa. Yeah. Really does feel like there's a bit too much grip, but you know, again, I've obviously never driven this car, and I'm pretty sure that there's nobody watching this video that has actually driven this car, so you know, you can only go off of what you've observed. According to my observations, it does seem a little bit too friendly, but then again, you also do stuff like that right as soon as you say that, and it's like, you were saying? In terms of in-car adjustments, we'll talk about one of them specifically, or I should say I will rant about it. But you do have your front and rear anti-roll bars that are adjustable in-car as you drive. However, as far as I can tell, you do not have push to pass, which should be active on the road courses, street courses, which gives you a 30 horsepower boost or thereabouts for 15 to 10 seconds or until you lift out of the throttle. Looks like Mr. Toyota there is, or Toyopa, excuse me, peeling off. Not sure we're going to need to make a pit stop. Looks like the AI just isn't packed with the full fuel tank. We'll carry on here until we switch over to the oval, finish out this race. So you do have those adjustments, but you don't have the push to pass, it seems like, unless it's some mapping that I haven't found, but I changed both of the boosts, and you can see engine boost not available, which kind of would have figured that they'd have fuel maps and things like that, because you know, they were kind of there in rFactor 1 already, and it does seem like something that would be, you know, worth adding. You know, maybe they'll do that, you know, after the initial release of this car. But you know, really, I think that's something that pretty much every developer out there, as I totally miss everything, would really be well advised to follow iRacing's lead, not to start that war. But you know, I really wish that it would go beyond just simulating the car's physics, but also getting into the car's systems and things like that. I want to be able to make the same adjustments that, you know, the drivers have available to them. You know, I want to do all that sorts of things, because some of them really do actually kind of change the way you race. For example, the fuel, you know, just being able to turn the engine boost down, save fuel. When you're talking oval racing, that can be a big deal. You know, fuel management really can make a big difference. But one other thing I forgot to touch on when I was talking about the car, the force feedback, it's not particularly violent. It is, you know, really pretty standard. I wouldn't say there's anything particularly good or particularly bad about it. It's effective, it gets the job done. At low speed, it does seem to give you a bit more, you know, feedback through your wheel than, for example, the Formula Renault 2014, which at low speed does kind of still become a little bit numb. The force feedback isn't as strong, which has to do with the fact that the car has no downforce on it, but I find it works pretty well. You know, it gets the job done. You know, it isn't the best car in terms of force feedback in rFactor 2, but it is certainly not a problem. It is not the Formula 2. If that is what you really wanted to hear. I just love that section. And really opening it up from those double hairpins makes it so much better. It does seem like there is a little bit of turbo lag, actually, and just in the way the power is delivered. Because this engine does also race on the ovals, its power band is pretty high up. If you pay attention to the oval races, you'll see that they use 5th gear and 6th gear, and on some tracks they actually shift in between corners and down the straightaway, you know, even when they're not in the draft, just to make sure that they're in the optimal power band. So you do want to keep this thing wound up, as well as the fact that it's turbocharged anyways, twin turbos. This is a nice car to drive, although I do think the Formula Renault that they recently released is a bit more engaging. It does showcase rFactor 2 a bit more. I do feel like it is a more polished car than this. You know what? It's an Indy car. I wanted an Indy car, and we got it. So I'm happy, at least with the road course side of things. So we're finishing up this race here. We're going to switch on over to the road course, or oval. We're going to be going the other way around, and we're going to be having fun. So let's go on and cut to that. So yeah, we're starting way down on the grid because, well, yeah, I'm using the rFactor 2 default setup, just seeing how that ends up going. I've tried a couple of different setups, just not really been particularly happy. And why are we merging? Oh my goodness. ISI, why is your own server set up why? Why? Why is it set up to skip the formation lap, which creates chaos? It's just silly. I mean, this isn't some, you know, mom and pop server. No, this is official ISI provided server. You know, this is their stuff that they control. Just silly. Really is just silly. There is no excuse. There is no way to justify that. Because if you try that offline, it does the same thing. It's not difficult. It's, if you play the game, you know what happens. But anyways, as for that, the oval side of things, well, doesn't make me happy. It's not very fun. It's not exciting. Doesn't seem realistic at all, considering we're running lap times that are 7 miles per hour average lap speed quicker than what they do in the real race. Doesn't make me think it's realistic when we run -10 wings, which is the minimum that you're allowed to do, when you can quite clearly see just by looking at the cars in the real world, they don't run their wings that low in race trim, but you can do it here and get away with it. It's just like nothing about this makes sense at all. I suppose for some people out there who really don't know anything about this type of racing, they'll say, oh, it's a great car, it's enjoyable, it's fun, there's a lot of drafting and stuff, and yeah, I enjoy it, but no weight jacker, no fuel mixture, two things that are hugely important that are in the driver's hands in the car while driving, pretty dang important. This track, thanks to real road and its accelerated rate that it rubbers in the track, dynamically mind you, it basically makes this track as wide as a modern Formula 1 circuit. It's like, look at, I'm running half a groove up, no problem, no sweat, whatever. And it's like, if you watch any race from Indianapolis, you will not see that, because the geometry of the corner is as such that it doesn't happen. You see that right there? No, you don't do that in Indianapolis. That doesn't happen, okay? But it does in rFactor 2. The oval racing experience is very lackluster. Oh, heck, who am I kidding? I could have just gone flat out through there just like regular. Yep. Sup, bro? Indianapolis, too wide. Just, there's no logic, and it takes so much of the fun of the experience out of it for me. Because the challenge with Indianapolis, and believe me, it is a challenging oval in one of these cars, especially when you start, trimming all the downforce out of it. It's just crazy. Turn one, good luck going flat out through there and qualifying trim, going into the corner, 237, 238 miles an hour, and sticking the corner. If you lift, you will be slow. It is really fine line, because there's nothing you can do about it if you miss, your turn-in point. Whereas here in rFactor 2, because of the fact that the track is so ridiculously rubbered in, thanks to real road and its acceleration, no problem. You just turn more wheel into the car. You'll go slower, but you'll still go plenty fast. And heck, we're doing 240 miles an hour. So watching the race today, the Indy 500 was literally today, and by themselves they were doing 225 miles an hour tops. Here, meh. Not so much. You can do 230 by yourself pretty much all day. Honestly, I did a race Friday night after the iRacing Indy 500, which I was so excited for. It ended up being a giant farce, to say the least. I ended up doing a 300-mile race in Hosted that's put up by Rutgers Kev, and while there was a lot of cautions, the racing was so enjoyable. There's a lot going on. The track is so much more exciting because everything is so much more narrow. It's much more intense. Just getting around the track, even with the setup that I was running, which was very conservative, but I knew it would race very well, was a blast, because there's still, that wall is out there to get you. But in rFactor 2 world, J.R. Hildebrand would have won the 2011 Indy 500. When, if you were watching it, you probably saw what was about to happen, a corner ahead of time, and you knew he was going to throw it into the wall, because there's no way he was going to make that work. because you've watched races from Indianapolis. You've seen the reality, and it's always been that way. You know, just the racing that goes on, you know, they do got the draft, which is really strong, which is nice, but you don't run up there, okay? You go up there, you don't come back. So, you know, honestly, Real Road is 100% to blame here, and it makes one of the most exciting circuits in an IndyCar quite boring. It really does. It transforms the experience entirely. You know, not having the ability to alter the weight jacker, which is a significant adjustment that will control how the car handles. Not being able to alter your fuel mapping, which, you know, in that race I did over at iRacing, I knew I had a really fast car, so I just trimmed back the boost a little bit, sat there and rode, because you're not going to break away with the way things are in this car at this track with the huge draft. And it was a blast, because it's like I'm playing the strategy game. I know I'm beating them on strategy. I know I got the speed to do it, so play the strategy game, make sure you stay out front, keep the car clean, don't screw up. Don't get involved in someone's mess, whereas this is as simple as mash gas, turn left. You know, that's the type of racing that we have here in rFactor 2. And even if you do screw up, I mean, the car is so ridiculously savable. I mean, you saw it earlier. It just, car's too fast, missing vital adjustments that it really needs to have. Car can run ridiculous wing angles and get away with it. You know, the track just, you know, the track isn't bad. It's acceptable by rFactor 2 standards. I will say I'm probably a little bit spoiled by the iRacing version, which is smoother yet bumpier. Its bumps are smoother because they're more defined. Like going here, it just feels like polygons. Just doesn't make me happy. But and I think a lot of people who maybe aren't fans of this type of racing, aren't fans of IndyCar, and you know, maybe they'll casually watch it, but they don't pay any attention to it at all, other than cars going around in circles. They'll probably find it acceptable, but I would honestly best use the words semi-pro to describe this. I mean, there's just so many things that are missing, which, you know, I know there's engine limitations and everything like that, but, you know, in this day and age, you know, it's, you know, when your competition has the same exact car that they also rushed out the door to the point where they only have one version of the car right now, you know, it kind of just becomes one of those things where, you know, you kind of get what you get, really. And, you know, you're going to get the reaction that you're going to get. It's like, I'd love to say that this is amazing and is honestly as good as the iRacing version, but this is not immersive. It's not a exciting experience, you know. It doesn't get the blood flowing, whereas, I'm not gonna lie, doing this stuff in iRacing, you know, it's fun as could be. You know, I do think there are similar handling traits, and obviously to go fast you want to be smooth, you know, especially a car that you're running, you know, pretty much flat out, ideally flat out if you're doing everything correct. You know, it is very important to run smooth in both versions. That doesn't change. They do drive, you know, quite similarly. It's just, I don't know if it's something within the track itself, with Real Road being, you know, artificially gripping up the circuit, or alternatively, you know, just the car having way too much grip or having way too much downforce for the wing angle or whatever. But it's like something just does not feel right. I mean, really, it really does. I hate to make this comparison, but it really does feel like something I would expect out of Forza. And I know a lot of people will instantly just start throwing things at me virtually, you know, and start hating on me, but it's just not good. You know, I'm being honest, you know, it's simple as that. I enjoyed the road course car. I really enjoy the Formula Renault 3.5 2014 that they released. You know, rFactor 2 has really improved over the course of the last, you know, year or so. They've really upped their game, but this car doesn't do anything for me. Some of you guys will certainly enjoy it, but, you know, here in the oval configuration, oval track, just nothing that gets me going, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to like it, but guess it wasn't meant to be, at least right now. So we're just going to finish out the race here and let you listen to the sound of the engine. As hopefully we stay in front of those guys, but I think one of them just lost it. Oh, hey, look at it. And there's a mess back there. If I can save that, why couldn't Kurt Busch save his slide? Let's see, where did we finish? Guess we finished 4th place. Not bad considering where we started, but yeah, the Delora DW12 Indycar within rFactor 2. Road course version, very good, very fun, acceptable. You know, a good effort from ISI. You know, I assume it's probably a little bit rushed, you know, to get it out for the Indianapolis 500 when everybody's all hyped up on Indycar right now. But, you know, it's a good car. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. But the oval experience, I think the casual oval fans of IndyCar, the people who just know of the Indy 500 and they don't really pay attention to the car adjustments, and the car rules and everything like that, and the car setups and all sorts of things that change. You know, I think you will enjoy it, but if you are kind of one of those more hardcore fans, I think you'll probably be a little bit disappointed by the oval racing here in rFactor 2. Which, yeah, I know someone's going to say it, so let me just put it bluntly. Which one do you prefer, Empty Box? I prefer the iRacing version for my oval experience. So, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.